So this podcast is all about you and your journey in music and how you got to where you are now. And we'll talk about the new record that you have coming out.
Yeah, amazing.
Very, very cool. Awesome. So did read that you're born, were you born in San Francisco or just raised in like the Bay Area?
Born in San Francisco, raised in San Francisco.
San Francisco itself, the city.
Yes, proper, the city proper.
Oh, very, very cool. I'm just curious because I lived up in the Bay Area for about 5 years, but
where'd you live?
I lived in like Walnut Creek, East Bay. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. I mean, now it's weird because I always think of San Francisco as my home, but I haven't lived there in a long time. So it feels like a long time since it's been that. But yeah.
Where are you at now?
Los Angeles.
Okay, very cool. Yeah, I was born and raised in Southern California, San Diego. Was in San Francisco for a bit, came back down, and now I'm actually in Nashville. So
I love Nashville. I spent a lot of time in Nashville writing. I mean, it's been some of my favorite writing experiences. Obviously, I guess everyone says that that's the city of songwriting, but I've had the greatest time. Yeah,
that's amazing. Yeah, my family and I like literally moved here a month and a half ago. So
how is it?
We love it so far. It's such a different pace here. I don't know if you felt like that, but like, you know, Southern California, I feel like is like everyone's like in a hurry.
Yeah, no, totally. The main thing I remember about Nashville is like I didn't have a car when I was there for a few weeks, so I was Ubering, and everyone talks to you. That's the thing. Right? That's every Uber driver. And I usually listen to music and I don't talk, and I realize like really quickly, like that's not okay. Like you have to engage, like
conversation. Yeah, but everybody's so nice, and it's so weird. Like if you need to make a turn or something, instead of just like letting you go, they're like, "Oh yeah, come ahead."
Oh, nice. I know.
Like no one's.
It's also fun. I've gone out a lot in Nashville, and it's so fun. I love it.
That's the one thing like we haven't really had a chance to experience because of the world kind of being shut down. But I will say here, it is definitely a lot more lax on the mask and COVID situation. I mean,
I would assume so. Yeah.
I have a 4-year-old turning 5 on Friday, and he plays t-ball, and I'm somehow the coach of his team. Basically, there wasn't enough people, but like you go to the game and there's just like no one in masks and just business as usual. It's pretty bizarre.
All right. Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah. So you're born in San Francisco, raised in San Francisco. What was that like? I mean, being raised in a city, how'd you feel about that?
Amazing. I mean, I've always it's funny. Actually, my boyfriend makes fun of me because he's like, San Francisco's not a city. You're not from a city. He's from New York. So he's I'm from a real city, but I always felt like I was from a city. I mean, I know what he means now that I live in Los Angeles, and you know, San Francisco is very small. It's actually nothing like Nashville, but it's like Nashville in that way. It feels more like there's a coziness to it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And the thing about San Francisco that, I mean, when I was growing, I think it's pretty different now, but when I was growing up, it was like everybody's parents were like aged hippies. So the vibe was like very creative and like weird. Everyone's like kind of like, once I left, I was like, oh, we're all weird in the Bay Area. Like there's kind of like a different creative spirit or something that I really loved. I don't really know if it's like that anymore. It's kind of like a tech town now. So
right. Like as I was moving, like they were like trying to turn the Tenderloin into like, I think like Twitter was going in there or something. Like
so
it was pretty bizarre. Like I remember seeing that they're like, okay, we're going to make free Wi-Fi in like this area. And I'm like, you're going to give free Wi-Fi to like the Tenderloin? I don't even understand that.
Like how about housing first? And then
right. Let's clean up the area. Let's get the needles off the street and then worry about Wi-Fi. But yeah, it was just interesting to me but then Twitter went in there. So then it all kind of clicked at that point.
Exactly. That's like pretty much exactly how I would describe San Francisco now. And I still love it, but it's just more of like a complicated place. But yeah, growing up there was, the one thing I will say is I knew what I wanted to be since I was 6 years old. And so I was just like, and I have nobody in my family is an artist professionally or really even, nobody worked in any kind of entertainment field, so it was very foreign to them, and so I was very excited to leave for that reason. I mean, I love my family, and I wasn't excited to leave my family, but
sure, of course,
I was like, get me to LA so I can go do what I just always wanted to do. So that was one.
6 years old, you knew that this wanted to be your path. What got you into music?
Well, my mom, I mean, my family loves music. So despite the fact that no one's like professionally involved, like music was always on in my house. And
Uh-huh.
my mom took me to like a music class when I was very young and I was in love with it. And then my second cousin, who was like cool and pretty and older than me, sang a Jewel song at like some family reunion. And I was like, I'm gonna
Oh,
copy her and do the exact same thing. So I literally copied her and did the
the
exact same
Jewel
thing.
song.
Yeah.
Which one? I'm just curious.
It's called Fly. I always I learned it when I was 5. So it's like, for some reason, it's embedded in my mind as either Fly or I'm Sensitive. But I could sing you the whole song. I won't right now, but that's what.
But we have the time. No, just kidding.
Yeah.
Well,
But yeah,
that's
it's a deep
awesome.
cut. It's a deep cut Jewel song. And now
Very
she follows me
cool.
on Instagram. So it's really come full circle for me.
That is amazing. She's so cool. She like I did radio forever. And my program director in San Diego, he kind of was discovered her, so to speak, when she was
Wow.
living in her van and playing like
Yeah.
little coffee shops in the La Jolla area in San Diego.
Amazing. Yeah, she's got a crazy story. She was
Yeah.
one of the only COVID live stream shows I bought tickets to.
Really?
I love her, and I saw her live when I was like a kid, and I haven't seen her since.
Mhm.
And now that we're Instagram friends, I was like, I have to see you again. And so COVID
Sure.
was the best I could do. Yeah, it was.
That's rad. And she's so
Yeah,
cool about like talking in between songs. She's like
totally.
very
She's funny.
storyteller.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she tells a lot of really amazing stories.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. So you learn. So 5 years old, you're learning Jules. 6, you're singing it, and then that was it.
Yeah,
Just
I sang at the school talent show, and it's a very
wow.
vivid memory. I just like sat down on the bleachers and I was like, oh, okay, that's what I'm going to do forever. I mean, I was sold. Yeah.
Sure. And then did you pick up an instrument quickly after that, or?
No, I mean, I always attempted to play piano and guitar, and I really it never clicked. I was just really bad. And then, I mean, I was like okay at piano always, but COVID is really when I had to now I feel like a piano player because I kind of was forced to be, because I had to do so much by myself that I just had to play piano, which I could play, but I just wasn't very confident at it. And now that's been a silver lining for me. Now I'm like, oh, I play piano.
That's
So
awesome. Well,
yeah.
yeah, a little, yeah, exactly. That's nice. The one thing that can come out of that is
Yeah.
the time that you can spend on like
Exactly.
mastering more of a craft.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you start singing at 6, and then I did see you attended like a musical program, right, in Marin County.
Oh, I guess, I mean, my high school just was like, again, it was like arty Bay Area. So we had like our music program was like, instead of choir, it was like soul band. So
Oh,
so it was just very cool. I just was very lucky with that. And so I got to, sing like Tower Power and Earth, Wind and Fire and stuff instead of like, Latin choral songs. That was the
sure.
difference, which was
Okay. They give
yeah.
you a little bit more of the pop
Yeah.
soul fun stuff to sing. That's cool. And
Yeah.
did you go to college for music as well?
Yeah, I went to USC in the music program. I
So you
almost
got to LA.
Yeah, I got to LA. Yeah. So I didn't really
Okay.
want to go to school. This is my whole life we're going through. It's amazing. Okay. Yeah, I didn't really want to go to college because I wanted to just go be an artist. But actually it was what I really needed because I was just so green and I just knew nothing and I knew no one. And so this program at USC was just kind of amazing. It was like this popular music program where actually not only did I like learn a bunch of stuff that I really needed to learn, just like music, I needed to like learn more about music and how to play it and how to perform it in like a more professional way. And just get the basic like hours basically to do it. But it also was like where I got all my first jobs as a background singer and where I got signed for the first time. It was all through the people that I was working with at school.
Wow. Were you writing songs prior to going to USC?
Yeah, I was always writing songs. But at USC, I was like basically on tour on campus. Like I would just say yes to every weird show imaginable, like any weird frat Christmas party, whatever. I'd be like, yes, I'll be the band. And so I just was like constantly singing, constantly playing shows. And then and then a couple of my teachers got me background singing jobs. So I went my first tours and then.
Wow. What was that like? I mean, you were still in school and they were able to get you these gigs. Wow.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was really fun. I went first with Sergio Mendes, the Portuguese or Brazilian, I should say. He sings in Portuguese and plays Portuguese music, but the Brazilian like jazz legend. And then, and I had to like learn how to sing in Portuguese, which I don't speak. And then Don Henley of the Eagles. So when I was like freshman and a sophomore, yeah, so much fun. And my first tours, I mean,
you were playing stadiums, right? I mean,
yeah, crazy. Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, it was really fun. And I went I think the first thing I did with Sergio was Japan. We went for the weekend, and I was like 19, I think, and 18, 19. And it was just, I was so happy. Like I was just so excited. I couldn't believe they were like letting me go with them, let alone paying me to go.
Right. What a big moment. Yeah. Get on a plane. You get to go to Japan. Had you ever been to Japan prior to that? Yeah.
No.
You're going to Japan. You get to play probably a stadium shows there.
Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah.
Wow.
Really
wow. And then you said you pretty much after that, you got signed the first year. Is that where you're saying?
I got signed. I forget if it was the end of my freshman or my sophomore year. I stayed in school after I got signed. Adam Levine heard the song that I wrote and sent me this email being like, I'll start a label if you'll be the first artist on it.
Well, okay, let's rewind a little bit. Do you mind? Yeah, Adam Levine sent me this email and he's like, I'm going to start a record label. Okay. So you're writing music at this time, but you're a background singer. So how did you get your music in front of people? Just performing all those gigs you were talking about?
Yeah, I knew I wanted to be a solo artist and a songwriter. So the background singing thing was incredible, but the way they were, they weren't touring, like they're a little older, those artists. So it was kind of ideal for me. I was still in school and still doing my own stuff. And we would tour for like, a few weeks at a time. And then I would just go back to LA. Mm-hmm. So I wrote a song. There was this guy in my songwriting class who was in that band Phantom Planet, who had the OC. They
had the OC, the OC theme song.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wasn't what actor was Jason Schwartzman? Wasn't he the drummer or something of that band for a hot minute?
Yeah. So this guy's name is Jacques, and he was one of the band members, and he was like taking the song. I never really understood why he was in this class at USC. I think he was like just taking it he wasn't getting a degree, but whatever, he was there. And he asked me to go write this song with him to try and like pitch a song to Janelle Monáe, which I had never done. And we finished it with another guy from Phantom Planet who was managed by Maroon 5's manager. So they all heard it that way. They heard when I sang the demo. So they just sent it to Adam and he sent me that email. It was crazy. It was
totally where are you when you receive this email? And tell me about this moment, because that must have been massive for you.
At my friend Matthias's Cinco de Mayo party off campus.
Okay. And you get like an alert on your phone, or are you checking it?
It was on my phone, and I checked it, and I had my friend read it. I was like, does this say what I think it says? And he's like, yeah. I was like, okay, I gotta go. And then I went and I spoke to Adam, and it was crazy. It was very surreal, very, very fairy tale like in a lot of ways.
Sure. Yeah, and then does he help you put out that first EP that you released? Like, tell me, because you released an EP called Space. So like what year are we, like he asked you to do this, and then do you guys meet up, and like how does that process start? Because he's kind of been a huge advocate for you.
We kind of just start like hanging out, and he'll bring me to, I played some shows and he would come and we would just send songs back and forth, whatever, just kind of like a mentorship vibe. And then he took me on a bunch of tours. So I used to do the Christina Aguilera part on Moves Like Jagger every night.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That was when that song was huge.
Right.
Yeah. And then he had me open for them. I was opening for them all the time, which was really fun. That's huge. And so then we put those first things out before. Yeah. That's where that came from.
Wow. Okay. So you put out that first record, and then tell me about the years. So during all that, excuse me. So you put out you put out the EP Space, right? That was the first EP you put out?
Yeah.
Okay. And then after that, did you release another EP before your first full record?
Yes, I released another EP. And then the truth is Adam opened so many doors for me, and it was an amazing opportunity. And that's where I got my start, which was incredible.
Sure.
But I didn't really yet know who I was. I didn't really yet have, and I needed more needed to kind of go like live a bunch of life and write a bunch of songs was really how it felt. So I did that. I went off and kind of just like, you know, I wanted to really kind of develop myself, frankly. I needed to do that. I wanted to make the record that was in my head and that it was in my heart, basically. And I went and I did that. And I wrote this album called Bad Together. That was my first album, and put it out with Columbia Records. I'm very proud of it. And then kind of here we are. I mean, my second album's basically finished. I've written a whole nother album and finished.
Yeah. I want to get to that record for sure. But so you signed to Columbia. Was that like you jumped from his label there? Was there kind of like a relationship prior to that, or was it something totally separate, or like how did that?
It was something totally separate. Yeah. I don't think Adam's label, I don't think it exists anymore. I mean, I think maybe Maroon 5 is signed to it, but I don't think anybody else is. It was
yeah. Why would he doesn't really need another record label, right?
Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, we parted ways, and then I spent a good year and a half writing all the songs for my next record before I signed with Columbia, before we got that one. Yeah.
And when you signed with Columbia, you put out Bad Together. Do you tour like as a headliner now? Like I'm sure you probably
I've never done a headlining tour.
Really?
I probably would have done 2020 if it hadn't been for COVID, but I spent a lot of 2019 touring, opening for people. I went with my friend Betty Who, which was really fun because we're good friends. And then I opened for OAR, which was crazy because very different. Yeah, we have very different audiences. It was unique. I mean, I love them. They're amazing. And it was such a fun tour. And I got to play Red Rocks, which I never played, which was really cool.
I've never been there. I really, really want to go. Like my wife and I, we're trying to go when the 1975 did that last tour. Like I want to see a band like them or like Bon Iver or something like
Bon Iver would be incredible there. That would be a dream. I've never seen a show there, honestly.
You just got to perform there.
I know, but I really want to go. It was kind of like the Gorge. Have you been to the Gorge in Washington?
I have not.
Oh my God, that show was crazy because it was like a storm and we had to like end the show right after. It was like a disaster. But it was a similar thing where it's just like stunning. It's just magical. I mean, I feel that way about the Hollywood Bowl. The Hollywood Bowl is
I love that place. It's dope.
My favorite. But Red Rocks is just like kind of insane. And my 95-year-old Nana came. She lives in Denver. That was amazing.
Oh, how sweet. That's really awesome. Well, she must have been really pumped.
Yeah, she's great. She's like, people like her more than me. My fans meet her and don't care anymore.
Like, yeah, you're cool, but let me hang with your 95-year-old grandma.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so you toured Bad Together. That came out in 2018. And are you writing the record or this new album you said is pretty much done?
Yeah, I was writing it then. I guess, let's see. I probably wrote the oldest song on it might be the one that's about to come out. I think I wrote that like right around the time Bad Together came out, actually. It was like, which is weird because it was like almost immediately clicked into like a little bit of a different sound that like just the evolution of the sound that I'm with on this record. But it was almost like, sometimes I think that happens. Like I finished Bad Together and it was like I was waiting until subconsciously I was waiting to kind of like finish telling that story before I could really begin telling another. I don't know if you're a songwriter or an artist, but I feel like a lot of my
I'm just a radio interview guy.
Okay. All right. Well,
I love music. I'm just not a writer of music.
Totally. At least for me, I think like I've had a harder time writing recently because I'm so close to being finished with this album. And it's for me, it's like, it almost feels like I have to like finish this. It's like a baby or something. It's like you have to set this one free before I can even begin to move on. But I think what happened was the minute I let go of Bad Together, it was like it opened the door to the whole new direction that I wanted to go in. So the song that's about to come out is I think the first one I wrote, if I'm remembering correctly, for the record. But in a way, it was like immediately the blueprint for the whole sound. It's like just
interesting.
Yeah,
because it's like you kind of want to have like a cohesive piece of work, right? Like so you said Bad Together was kind of like one like snapshot of time, so to speak, and now you have moved on to now where you're at. So you've released at least one song, Him for Tomorrow. That's on the new record. Okay. Well, I'm curious to see where you were when the world shut down and everything. Like, did you have a whole plan for like, okay, we're going to release a record now and this, and then we're going to tour and then this and this and this. And it's like,
Yeah, fortunately for me, I think of all the situations I could have been in, it was kind of the best timing. I was literally in London, so I had to leave London early. That was the one thing. I was in London finishing a bunch of the songs. My producer for most of the record is in London. His name's George Moore. It's amazing.
Okay.
And we were there, and like every day the Twitter was getting scarier. And then
that's what I was gonna ask you. So
yeah.
so you're there, and then tell me about like I've talked to artists that were like, yeah, I was stuck in like, some part of Germany, and we're like trying to find an overnight flight. Like, where were you when this was all days prior?
I mean, it was like really anxiety inducing because like, first of all, the time change, I would like wake up to like 100 texts from people being like, are you still there? Are you going to come back? Are you nervous? Like, everyone being like, maybe it's time. And I was just like, it's going to be fine. If I get stuck here for a couple of weeks, that'll be fun. Like, sure. Who cares? And then I was getting a drink with my friend, which was like the last time I ever did that. And we were sitting there and she was like asking me if I was we were both like, what's going to happen? And then I literally look at my phone and it was like, California's shutting down. And everybody I know was like, you got to come home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cause they were like closing borders. I mean, they basically, Trump came out and said, we're shutting everything down. And then I'm sure that must've been like a high anxiety moment.
I was like, okay, we have to change my flight right now. So we changed it and I left the night. I literally left the bar, went home, packed. The next morning I went back to the studio at like 9 a.m. to sing one last thing. And then I went to I brought my suitcase and then went straight to the airport and came home. And it was like really funny when I think about it on the plane. No one's wearing masks. No one. Everyone's like wet wiping everything, now we know it's like not the thing. It's like everything is about the masks. And I drank they gave me like a free extra carafe of wine on the plane. I was nervous. I was like, it was it was like, the airport was empty. It was very spooky.
Yeah.
And then and then the world shut down. But because I had just in time been to London, we were able to really kind of just set the foundation for the rest of the record. And now George and I have been able to finish stuff remotely. I've recorded some stuff over here and sent it to, it's been fine. We've been able to totally finish it.
That's amazing.
Fortunately. So I feel very lucky actually that I got there just in time.
Yeah. I want to comment real quick on the plane ride, because before my family and I moved here to Nashville, we flew out here to check it out a little bit, find a place. And so this is when it was like, masks and shields and the whole thing. They stopped serving drinks like altogether, like soda.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, but they would walk by and ask you if you'd like some water, which was in a cup that they had pre-poured. I'm like, wouldn't it be more sanitary to just hand me a closed can of soda? A lot of stuff
I know. And I had to take a flight and I would just kind of lift my mask for a second, take a sip of water and put it back on. But who knows? I mean, it's all of it feels like it's kind of like at a restaurant, like you can stand up next to the table and you have to wear a mask, but when you sit down, you can take it off. It's just always but whatever.
Anyway, I just thought it was funny that you brought up that you actually got a blind, because when we were flying, they're like, here's water that has been opened and pre-poured and we're going to push it through the whole plane, instead of just being like, here's a can. They even have canned water. But anyway, back to you. So do you feel like the pandemic changed the course of the record at all? Or is it still kind of in the same?
No, actually, I think that I really settled on what I wanted it to sound like before, or yes, in that I continued finishing it throughout this whole time, and I'm probably affected by everything in my life, but not really in a noticeable way. I mean, George is amazing, and it's kind of a producer that is the first one in a lot of ways. This feels like my very first record. It's not, clearly, as we just discussed, but it feels like it because it just kind of feels like I've it's like all the pieces of my life and development and all the ups and downs kind of found an alignment, and I hit a certain threshold of confidence and understanding of myself to make the record that I always felt that I wanted to make. So I had kind of already gotten to that zone before COVID hit. And George was somebody that I sought out and I found, and I wanted to do it this way. And so musically, not really. I think maybe the timeline changed. I think maybe possibly some of the creative and visual directions, you know, that we've gone with have been affected by that, but not really, honestly. I think it's just, it's more like the time in my life is what this record, what it is, not the time of the world.
The tone had already been set prior to the thing happening.
And I've had a really hard time writing songs, partially because what I said, like, you know, it's hard for me to write when I am so close to finishing something else, but also because like the Groundhog Day-ness of COVID, I haven't found it very inspiring. I mean, I've written a couple of songs that I'm very excited about, but mostly it's not been a songwriting time for me. So
I've heard that. I've heard a couple other artists say, like, you know, how much inspiration am I going to get off these same four walls that.
Yeah, and I know it's possible because I watched my boyfriend write like 5 songs a day. So I'm like, okay, well, it's possible.
Yeah, like, let me tap into you a little bit.
Yeah. For me, it just hasn't been that time.
Yeah. So, well, you're talking about visuals too. You released a music video for Him for Tomorrow.
Yeah.
And how was that? Was that different? Was it like?
Yeah, it was unlike anything I've done because the whole thing was really trying to recreate this movie Run Lola Run. So it was just kind of a little bit of an outlier in that way. It's like a little bit of a different visual direction, I guess. But like the concept, like conceptually, it just felt really right because the song is about you know, kind of like forgiving yourself for your past and kind of drawing a line in the sand and starting fresh and going forward. I spent a lot of time thinking, what if I had done this? Or what if I had done this? You know, I hold myself responsible for most things in my life. And I think I wrote that from a very personal point of view, but I wanted to put it out right at the top of the year because it felt like, you know, obviously nothing changed overnight, but it felt like there was a new beginning, a new administration and vaccines. It felt like there was like some light at the end of the tunnel. And I wanted to kind of provide a little bit of soundtrack to that. And the movie Run Lola Run is this whole thing where it's like the butterfly effect. It's like the same exact series of events happens 3 times back to back in the movie, but subtle differences completely change the outcome. And that's kind of something that I struggle with. And like, if I had just done this, would it be different? If we had just done this, would everything be different? But really what I'm trying to say is you just got to keep moving. Like you just got to keep going forward and look forward rather than look back, basically. And it's a message to myself, but that's what I was trying to share with everybody.
I love that. And you had Alex Wolff, who's in a bunch of movies,
that's my boyfriend.
Oh, it is. Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
As a favor to me, but yes.
Wow, I didn't realize that he was a songwriter as well. Maybe it's just that flew over my head.
He's incredible. Yeah, he and his brother have a band, and I won't say anything about it, but their new album is the greatest thing ever. It's absolutely incredible.
That's so cool. Yeah, I just was like, oh yeah, she had him, and like he's in Jumanji, and like they're in movies. Like that's so cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome. That's really awesome. Well, so you said another single coming out that hasn't come out yet. Him for Tomorrow's out. Is there a timeline on the record, or are you gonna?
Yes.
Okay.
I never know if I'm supposed to say it, but I'm just going to say it. My next song comes out on May 6th, and it's called I Can't Go to the Party. And it's the one I said that I wrote. I think it's the first one of this record, if I really think about it correctly. And it's kind of like a mad, sad, sexy, moody, fun breakup song, kind of. But it's sonically something I've always wanted to make. It's like a Lauryn Hill soul song. And that's what this record, I hope, is for people. So it feels like if Him for Tomorrow hadn't been so timely with the beginning of the year, this song would have been made the most sense. Is like, this is the record that's coming. You know, it's very much like I said, the blueprint. So, and I made a music video last week that I'm so excited about. My best friend's boyfriend is Jack Beggart, and he is an amazing music video director. So we made it last week and stayed up for 22 hours and filmed all through the night. So it's going to be cool. And hopefully it's going to be as cool as it felt when we were making it. So
I'm sure it will. That's awesome. That is really exciting. And then what about actually you'll be putting the record out and there's a little bit of hope and there's a light at the end of the tunnel as far as touring goes and playing shows. That must be pretty exciting.
It's so exciting. I mean, I'm really hoping, Yeah, so I have the first half of the album is going to come out in June.
Okay.
And then that's 7 songs. And then there's 7 more songs that are going to come out after that. You know, I don't know exactly when, but throughout the year. And so theoretically, I mean, I want to go on tour tomorrow if I can. So I don't know when it'll be possible, but hopefully maybe by the fall or something. I can't wait.
That's what it looks like. I mean, if they're booking festivals, Bonnaroo,
September,
full
festival,
like outside lands, like 100. If they think they're getting 100,000 people together or close to it,
I know. Fingers crossed. I mean, it's like, honestly, that's as much as I'm feeling good about, like, you know, I got my second vaccine, I can feel like things are changing. That shows to me, both going and performing is like I mean, not to be dramatic, but it like feels like the reason for my existence. Like it's my favorite thing on earth. And I haven't been myself without it, you know? And I just really, really hope that can happen this year. Cause it's like, it's what I need. We all need, I think we all need that. Who doesn't
we all need it.
Yeah.
And artists are booking tours. I saw for like November, and it's getting exciting again. Like, okay, like, whoa, there's pre-sale tickets happening. Like, what is going on? Like, it's just like so bizarre.
I know, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Well, I hope for the best and as far as that goes. But I want to ask you real quick you have a podcast too.
Yes, I do.
So tell me about your podcast.
My podcast is like my fun, like, side project that I think might be more successful than I am, honestly, because I do it with my friend Scott Hoying, who's in Pentatonics, and we interview just like really talented, amazing, successful people who are basically just the best at what they do. And it's called You're So Good. And we basically just like get our guests a little tipsy and try and get them to tell us like how they got so good and then gossip with us. It's very fun. And we've had people like Michelle Kwan, who's an Olympian, also Adam Rippon, who's an Olympian, and Jonathan Van Ness and Bobby Burke from Queer Eye. And we've had like Christina Perry, and we've had Betty Who, we've had Nile Rodgers is our next guest. We've had
that's huge.
we've had YouTube stars, we've had actors, we've had, I mean, it's like we've had like, you know, just across the board crazy careers, and it's really fun, and hopefully it's very inspiring. I mean, it's basically what Scott and I do when we hang out, which is drink and like talk about our dreams and gossip. So it's pretty much just that on air.
That's cool. I'm gonna definitely check it out, because when our podcast is how you guys achieve what you're doing, and you're kind of going across the spectrum with all different types of people, and I love that. I'm gonna definitely check it out. So thank you for sharing that. Very cool. Well, thank you so much, Rozzi, for doing this. I really appreciate it. I have one more question before I let you go. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Yes. I would say take your time finding out who you are and listen to your instincts. And I think people say that all the time, like, listen to your gut, trust yourself. And I think the thing that I wish I understood was it takes time to know how to listen to your gut. And it takes time to even really have a gut that has something to tell you, you know, like, I think being an artist is about expressing what it is like to be a human, you know, and sometimes you need to go be a person for a while, have a bunch of life experience, learn some lessons, live some life. And you can't rush it. And I'm always in a hurry. And that's something that I would never have listened to, you know, and I still don't really listen to, frankly, but it is definitely advice I would give anyway. Take your time to get to know yourself, and then know yourself as well as you can before you let anybody else get involved. Because the minute you let some scary, successful guy in a suit come and tell you who you are, it's going to be harder to hold on to it. So it's the more confident you can be in what you want before anybody else gets involved, the better. Bring it back.